happy to hang out. First of all, thank you, Craig, for being here.
Oh, thank you. I
That's
love
what
hanging
the-
out with you, Phil.
Even if you don't, I like you said. Pastor Craig's one of my favorite pastors. Been blessed to work around the country with 1,000 pastors. And we have already had a podcast in the past, which was The Giving Leader, and it's 30,000 listeners. And we're happy with that. But this year, we're kicking off something new, and that's pastor or pizza with pastors.
Huh.
And just hanging out with pastors around the country. The one commonality is that you got to have a pizza, a place that you like, hopefully not a chain.
Right.
That's just a pizza.
Right.
And I have not found a pastor yet that doesn't like pizza. A lot of different kinds of pizza.
Right. We're honest people.
So here we are at Christ Church of Grove Farm.
At Grove Farm.
At Grove Farm.
Yes.
So I almost said it right,
Yeah.
but no, not.
Yeah.
Christ Church at Grove Farm, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful piece of property. We're in Pittsburgh, but are we like north, south, east?
We're northern suburbs.
Northern suburbs.
And, it is Christ Church at Grove Farm. A little bit of an unusual name. This property historically was a family farm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We kind of tipped the cap to the family because they had a vision that this property be used for God's glory.
Well, and it's a beautiful piece of property,
Yeah.
rolling hills, it's all that kind of stuff. Which with the power of post-production, we may show you some pictures. We are going to start with pizza, and then we'll get into conversations, just what's going on around here. So first, tell me why this place, why this pizza, why you picked it.
Yeah, so we've got Caliente here today, and there are several great pizza places in the Berg. The thing I like about this particular pizza, and this one is called the Wolfley 73.
Okay.
Now, if you're an NFL fan from way back when, specifically if you're a Steelers fan, Wolfley is a guy named Craig Wolfley.
Okay.
Kind of cool. Like, I'm a Steelers fan, of course. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'm a Steelers fan, which you don't say very proudly these days, folks. It's not something that feels really good. But, our history is rich. And for a long time in this city, there were two former linemen, Steelers linemen, who became radio personalities and really influential people in the city. One was Tunch Ilkin, who played for the Steelers back in the 80s, and the other was Craig Wolfley, who also played in the 80s. And both these guys loved Jesus. And they love the Steelers. They love football. They were announcers and they were very good at it, but they were also ambassadors for Christ in our city. Sadly, both guys have gone to be with the Lord relatively young, 60s. Tunch had Lou Gehrig's disease and went quickly to be with the Lord. And then just in the past year, Craig Wolfley got cancer and quickly, again, also went home to be with the Lord. But they honor him with this pizza. It's called the Wolfley 73. And it's got meatballs on and hot honey and all kinds of stuff. You're going to see all the meat in this thing. I think you said
It's very heavy.
Yes, heavy pizza. All the proceeds go to support a local homeless mission. So they give 73% of the proceeds, that was his number, 73% of the proceeds away to support Light of Life Mission, which is a great, great Christian homeless ministry here in the city.
First of all, I cannot promise that the other episodes coming will have any kind of a spiritual dimension to I didn't say, hey, you know what? Let's find a pastor that's got a pizza that he likes that somehow is got a spiritual connection and maybe proceeds go to a nonprofit. That would be a great idea. That's not the whole plan.
I've set the bar high.
I did very high. So yeah, when I picked it up, I thought if we had to pay by the weight, this is like a $50 pizza.
It is.
Because it's very, very heavy. So you're saying it's the Wolfley 73. That's his number?
Yeah, that was his number.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't. The other guy is like Tunch. I've never heard Tunch as a name.
Tunch Ilkin, legend around here. Both these guys, legends. And like I said, it was real. I mean, when I say ambassadors for Christ, they were active in the church, leading Bible studies, baptizing men. I mean, they were in it, and Pittsburgh loves them because they love the Steelers too, and they stewarded their faith in such a beautiful way. It was great.
Okay.
We miss them.
Yeah, I since I'm a Bengals fan,
Woo.
I only.
So you got the meatballs.
Okay.
You got the pepperoni. You got the pecorino romano on there. It's all there, man. The hot honey's on there somewhere too.
And then we're pushing baseball because
Well,
World Series.
which is really
World
kind of
Series.
sad because the World Series, that's a subject. What a series so far.
I'm gonna have to eat the whole thing, but all right.
You know?
All right. I'm gonna take a bite. First thing I do when I judge pizza, because I am an expert, just because I'm eating a lot, is crust.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Mm.
Delicious. You can't go cheap on crust.
No,
That's the problem with chains.
one of the things they haven't done either is they haven't gone cheap on toppings. Like I got a ton of meat. I got like
Oh yeah.
a ton of meatball. I could taste the hot honey, which I like that.
I've never had hot honey on a pizza.
No, man, I love it. If I can get hot honey on a pizza, I'm in every time.
I don't think I've even heard of it.
Really?
No.
Oh man, it's a whole thing. There's a whole
What if that's
world of hot honey.
Is that a Pittsburgh thing?
It may be regional, but it's catching on in other places. So look
Okay,
out
so
for it.
we've been blessed to work all over the country, and everything's different. So churches are different, areas of country are different. We've worked from Long Island, New York, to Pasadena, California, and everything in between. Pittsburgh is a unique region. We call you Yinzers.
Mhm.
Yes, we got the Yinzers. You are from here,
Mhm.
but before you came to the church, you were in Memphis.
Right.
Okay, so tell me the differences in the two regions: ministering, people, culture. What's similar? What's different?
Yeah. So Memphis, of course, is in the Bible Belt, and it's kind of the buckle of the Bible Belt, And there are churches in every corner. There are large churches throughout the city. Like a church of our size, with about 1,100 people here on a weekend. That's a average church in Memphis, in the
Right.
Bible Belt. And so there is this sense in the culture of Christianity kind of pervades everything. I remember when we first moved there, we were so taken by how many people would pray in a restaurant publicly before they ate their meal.
Oh yeah.
Just something that simple that we didn't see here necessarily in Western Pennsylvania all the time. It would be more of a rare occurrence. There you would see it all the time. So that was certainly one of the things. In the South, there's absolutely every place has its flavor. And what I realized soon on is like I made lots of friendships. We loved our time in Memphis. We loved that city for a lot of reasons. One of the things you realize is I'll never be a Southerner. I'll never be a Southern guy. It's just not who I am. The way I cut my hair, the way I walk, the way I talk, none of that will ever quite be Southern. But the cool thing is to be embraced by the church community and to make friends there was awesome. Memphis specifically, they say it sounds like a cliche. It says the city with soul, but there is something about different places that have unique elements and aspects to who they are that aren't just cliches. And there is something about Memphis that does have, for lack of a better explanation, a sense of soul, gravitas to it that I really appreciate.
Tennessee is very different too. Nashville, Knoxville, Memphis
Oh, my
are all
goodness.
completely
Yeah,
different
yeah.
regions and different folks. So to go a little bit into your story. So you're from Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
You and your family are in Memphis ministering. You have the opportunity to come here. You're coming here because longtime pastor, 30 years?
Yeah.
30 years.
Longer than that in the city of Pittsburgh in terms of his legacy. Yeah.
And he's retiring.
Mhm.
And so big deal to follow somebody that's been there a long time. Was that a thought process? Did you think, I don't know if I want to do that, or if that,
Maybe I should have given it some more thought, man. No, so John Guest is the guy you're referring to.
right.
And John is not just a guy that you're following, who's been here for a long time. In this region, he is a legend. And I'm not overemphasizing that. John's an evangelist. He is quite literally ministered all over the world. And he's charismatic. And he's an incredible preacher. And he has personally led countless people to the Lord. Big, big shoes to fill.
Right.
And, what God's given us the grace to do is really work together. And John still has a place with us here. He's 89 years old.
Wow.
And he's an inspiration to anyone who's in ministry because he keeps on going. He wakes up every day and he's thinking about how can I be a part of God's work today? Every conversation I'm having, how can I be a part of moving this person towards the Lord and not away from him? He's always thinking about that. And the thing that God's given us is the ability to really work together. He's like a dad to me. He's a pastor to me. He's a mentor to me. He's all of that to me. And I think the grace and the goodness of us, I don't have to be threatened by John. He's actually a blessing to the church. He can be a blessing to me. And for him to recognize that in this season, I have a role to play. He wants to cheer me on has actually been wonderful for the church because it's like the church gets a grandpa, someone we can celebrate in this season of ministry and embrace and allow him to minister in some unique ways. And it's actually been really good. But it's all God's grace that's made it possible for us. And I think, thankfully, God had given both John and I a posture of heart to be receptive to that kind of vision.
Well, so the reason I brought it up, one of the things that we have run into as we've traveled across the country and all these years is in the last, say, 5, 7 years, you've got a lot of folks that have come of age that have either planted or substantially grown churches, and now they are retiring. And the folks that are coming behind them, that succession,
Yeah.
been done 100 different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes they bring somebody on before they leave. Others don't do that. Sometimes the church is very involved in making that selection. Sometimes the person that's retiring is very involved in making that selection. So was there a period between him leaving and you coming, or did you come while he's still here? How did that work?
Yeah, so that's part of the story, I guess, that we left out, and I won't get too far into it. It's pretty deep.
Right.
But the church had a good 10-year period of transition and hits and misses, quite honestly.
Okay.
And that's not to say anything about any of the people who came here. Some were stabilizing forces, but nothing ultimately lasted more than a year, 2 years, or 3 years. So Jean had never retired, but moved into a different season, probably when he was like in the 70s. Okay. He decided he wants to do something a little bit different. And the church brought someone in. It just wasn't the right fit. It didn't work out. And that led to a path that was a little bit circuitous. And another guy kind of took over after a while. He was here for a couple of years and had a great impact on the church and served the church well, but it wasn't a long-term fit for him either.
Right.
And so, and John would step in after these people left. John would step in again as the interim.
Right. Okay.
And the stabilizing force. So in a sense, I followed him. In a sense, I followed the other guys.
Right.
And it was both. And so that actually helped to soften the landing for me. That the church, on one hand, had learned a lot about what not to do by the time I got here, and also. I think John was clearly ready for a new season of ministry. He was at that point in his 80s and ready for what God had next for the church and for him. And so it did help to create a sense of, I'm not here to try to undermine what you're doing, undermine your leadership. I'm actually here to support it and for the health of the church to see it really flourish, your leadership there in the church.
Well, the phrase has always been, you always want to follow the guy that's following the guy.
Right. And I kind of got to do that.
But,
that's the same in college football. It's the same in anything.
But like, he's still around. So, that's the reason I wanted to bring it out, because I think it's a unique perspective, unique story.
And I have found that it's unique too. And it has worked for us. And without being cliche, really, God is good in that way. But I think also there's been a willingness, and I think it's church with a relationship. John and I really genuinely love each other.
Right.
I love him. He loves me. And when I say that he's like a dad to me, I mean, I have a wonderful dad,
right.
Flesh and blood, but John's like another dad to me. And I truly love him. So it's been good.
Very cool. Very cool.
That makes it work.
Okay. And before I go down another rabbit trail, I have a question I've never asked anybody. Okay. And I don't know why it just hit me, because way back when I had the opportunity to plant the church in Seattle, but life was different then. It's changed rapidly, especially in social media. Yeah. And I've always thought in the last few years, wonder what life would have been like if I'd been planting during the age of all the social media platforms, and how they are just, everybody's on their phone. You walk through the airport, and nobody's looking up. They're always doing this and they're doing it. So the question I'm going to ask you, and I've never asked anybody, as a pastor, do you look at social media? Do you pay attention to it when it comes to people commenting? Because everybody's got an opinion. I used to get hate mail, but at least I had to sit down and write it.
Yeah, that's right.
Now,
instantaneous.
Go on there. And, it's like, so does that play into your thought when you're up even preaching? Yeah. Do you think about, you know what, this will be captured?
Yeah, you're aware of it. I think all of us who are trying to be faithful to God's calling and the scriptures, we're trying to divorce ourselves from that kind of thinking that, is in the flesh, and what's the blowback going to be. We don't want to compromise in a way. So I think, do I pay attention? Yeah, I pay attention. I know what's going on. I know what people are. I've read Google reviews recently at our church, and you read this stuff, and you try not to take it too personally, because you do realize that it's really easy for anyone to get on there and share their opinion, that you recognize where things are coming from and they're hurting people. At the same time, like, there could be some goodness in paying attention to what's going on, because you might see that another church is doing something that's like, wow, that seems like a move of God. That seems like a timely way to frame ministry and to rally people or gather people or speak to people. So you can pick up some things there. But you also get a sense just from non-church things, what people are talking about, what they are thinking about.
Right.
And that's also a helpful thing when it comes to social media. In terms of the blowback, man, you gotta chew the meat and spit out the bones, right? You gotta recognize the things that you can't allow to take root in you. I heard someone recently say something like, "If I wouldn't ask a person for advice, then I don't need to also take their criticism." You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
some of that, I
That's
don't know.
that's cliche.
Hard to do human.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard to do human.
It's like, no, you're dead to me.
Right. Let's be real.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be real.
That I just thought of it. It hit me like,
Yeah.
just like what you said, a Google review. Who would have ever thought there'd be this online platform you could review your church?
They're permanent.
Yeah.
They never go away.
Yeah. So it's like a Yelp review.
A Facebook review, a Yelp review, a Google review, you cannot remove those. So we recently had someone who complained about, I don't even remember what it was now, but it was something that felt a little bit unfair. And you get a 1-star review.
Right.
And I'll never go back to this church again. You wish you could say, well, wait a minute. Can we talk to you? We'd like to talk to you and hear from you. And we'd like to minister to you.
Right.
And hey, everyone, I don't know if this is 100% true.
Right.
I don't know. This is our experience. Fair enough. But man, is it indicative of who we are? A lot of people would say this. But that's restaurants. It's everything.
Right. Isn't that crazy? That is
They're permanent.
That is amazing. I think it so changes, and I think of younger guys and gals that are coming into ministry that's all they've known.
Yeah.
And how that will direct what they do, what they say.
Yeah.
Knowing that's out there, and everybody's got a camera. Everybody's always capturing stuff and take it out of context. Okay, so tell me a little bit your story. So you're from Pittsburgh. You ended up in Memphis and ministering, and then you came back here.
Yeah.
What's your story? When did you come to Christ?
I grew up going to church. My dad was big in this. I'm really thankful for my dad. My dad was a Sunday school teacher at Little United Methodist Church here in the area. Sweet church, good church. And I certainly heard Bible there, and I experienced love of people. It was a good place. So for whatever reason, I put it on me. I didn't hear the gospel. I didn't. In fact, I was operating for most of my, childhood, teen years out of the old, like, put it on the scales, put your life on the scales. And as long as the good outweighs the bad, most of the time, I'm good with God.
Right.
I'm a 51% Christian.
Right.
As long as I just do it, I tip the scales. And I operated out of that, like a lot of people do. And I came to a point after my freshman year in college where I was at a crossroads. Lord forgive me, I'd never had a deep thought in my life at that point. I was just happy-go-lucky and enjoying life, playing sports and enjoying, relationships, friendships with girls and guy, all that, And I really blew it my freshman year of college so badly. This is embarrassing to say. Maybe you can edit this part out. I had a 1.7 or 8 GPA after my freshman year.
Right.
Totally blew it. You can keep it in there. It's embarrassing, but it's true. But it brought me to a point because my parents were looking at me saying, "Hey, we're helping to sacrifice to pay for your college tuition. We're not going to pay for that."
Right.
My parents are blue collar. They're like, we're not going to pay for that. Yeah,
First of all, I'm not thinking that's bad, but that's okay.
That's why I like you, Phil.
I'm thinking, not good. Don't go so far down the road on.
But here was the thing: my parents are looking at me saying, "Hey, we're not going to fund this, buddy," and I'm also thinking, I don't know if I can get out of this hole.
Right.
I don't know if I know how to dig out of this, and I don't know what my alternative is. So all of a sudden, I had this question of like, what am I going to do with my life? Well, in the midst of this, I was talking to this girl during the summer, and not the woman I'm married to now. Thankfully, God works things out. And this was a nice girl, but I liked her, and she said, "Hey, there's this thing going on downtown." She probably told me what it was, but I was so mesmerized by her, I didn't really hear it.
Right.
And she said it was going to be at the stadium, which at the time was Three Rivers Stadium, where the Steelers and Pirates used to play, cookie cutter stadium.
Right.
And I said, "Yeah." I knew it wasn't the Steelers game, 'cause it was summer. I didn't think it was a Pirate team because I knew they weren't in town.
Right.
Festival of some sort. So I go to this thing, and we get in there. I pick her up, take her, and it winds up. It is the Billy Graham Crusade of 1993. Not the event that I was thinking of that night with this young lady.
Gotta love this girl.
And so here I am, and I hear Billy Graham share the gospel as he did over and over again. In my heart, like millions of others, God moved in me. And that night, man, my eyes opened up, and that changed the course of my life. I walked down to the turf, and I gave my life to Christ. I prayed with someone that I'd never met, and never saw again.
Right.
But man, what a powerful defining moment in my life, and it really changed everything. Here's the fruit of that. That to me is evidence of God's work in my spirit. After that, I never in my undergrad work got anything less than a B.
Wow.
Nothing but A's and B's.
Wow.
Which to me is mind-blowing. I had no idea how I was going to do that. But that was the change that took root in me. Just one of the evidences of it. I was able to be focused and have a plan, and God did that. And He gave me friendships, of course, and I was discipled, and it all goes on from there.
I saw, the reason we brought that up is because in Craig's office, he's got a picture from that event. And in my past, I briefly was vice president of the Billy Graham Association, which was a unique honor and a unique experience for a period of time. But when I had the opportunity to go talk to the folks about that and work with Franklin, I got his biography.
Just as I am?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I only knew
Somewhere
Billy
around
was a
there.
guy that we'd see on TV as a kid or something, so it's like, I don't know anything about it. The biography, Just As I Am, his name is biography. It's amazing. He may still was in the Guinness Book of World Records for having physically spoken in front of more people than anybody in the history of the world. Wow. So not
Very
on
believable.
TV screens or whatever, not that stuff. I mean, physically
Live in person.
just you name
no
the
one
country, they
surpassed
would
that.
be packed
No
out.
one
Yeah,
surpassed
no,
that. No.
no, maybe Taylor Swift.
True.
But-
True. She
but
saw some more years ago.
Yeah. But amazing. And so then to find you all these years later and your experience with that, do you think? I know Greg Laurie does some good things with some crusades and stuff. Do you think that can still work?
I do.
Okay.
I think it's the right man, though,
Right.
at the right time. Just this past year, Will Graham came through Pittsburgh. And it sounds like he's gathering, and thinking about how can maybe that be relaunched. And maybe the Lord will move again in that way. But I think there'll be a time. Right now, it doesn't seem like that's a big thing in our culture. But
Right.
boy, aren't things happening in our culture right now?
Right.
You see what's happening in college campuses and universities, and how people are talking about Jesus. We see Jesus as the subject of conversation these days.
Right.
Coffee shops, living rooms, college campuses. It's happening, And so with that, it does give you a sense of it could be that God's identifying a person even now, maybe multiple people,
Right.
who will be raised up like Billy Graham, like John Guest, to do that kind of thing. John came to Christ at a Billy Graham crusade too.
Really?
1954, Haringey Arena in London.
Wow.
We both have that in common. He's got
Wow.
a picture of his crusade in his office. Isn't that cool?
That's hilarious.
And he met Billy and of course the whole crew.
I've met Billy, but I do not have a picture
He has
of
a
a
picture with
crusade.
Billy.
Yeah, we were my wife and I got to go to his 90th birthday party.
Oh wow.
And I was really jazzed because sitting beside him before he passed away was Paul Harvey.
Oh yeah.
And as a kid,
Love Paul Harvey.
loved listening to Paul Harvey.
Radio, yeah.
Now
Paul
the rest
Harvey.
of the story.
The rest of the story.
So full circle, got to ask you a pizza question. Worst pizza you ever had?
First of all, it's hard to identify a worse pizza. Usually, even like the school cafeteria pizza.
I
was
love
good,
those.
right?
I love those. Those
And,
little round ones you used to get.
So this, I don't think this is a bad pizza, but it was
Right.
bad for me.
Okay.
When you ask this, I think of it right away. When I was a kid, my family would go to the old school Pizza Huts with the red roof,
Right,
and the
right.
jukebox, and Mrs. Pac-Man, and all that. And I loved all that experience. But the pan pizza,
Right.
I think it was probably the grease, the oil, would make me sick. I would always get a stomach ache after it. So unfortunately, I never really loved pan. I probably tried it over and over because I wanted to like it, but I would eat it, and every time I would just get an upset stomach. So that would be my personal least favorite pizza, just because of the effect it had on me.
Yeah, pizza to me is like a donut. I've never met a donut I didn't
Right.
like.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
you might not like it as much as another one, but like them. I was telling you earlier, I did have one bad experience. I had an opportunity years ago to go to China, and as part of, I think, the International Bible Society, doing some stuff, and I was doing radio, and we were interviewing folks and come back and play those interviews, folks that are involved in the underground church in China. It was amazing,
Yeah.
amazing experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
But the one American meal we had was in Beijing at a Pizza Hut, and that's when I got sick. That's the only time I got sick on the whole trip. It's the only American meal that I ate, which I don't know how American it was,
Yeah.
In Beijing, China. But anyway, well, you are doing an amazing ministry here. Before I let you go, last question. I know you got some stuff happening here, and two things I want you to hit on quickly. One, your relationship with the school that you're helping.
Yeah.
Because I saw the new driveway.
Yeah.
And then the other, the project that you have here going on.
Yeah. I want to talk about both of those. So first of all, we've developed a relationship with a classical Christian school. I don't know if everyone's familiar with that. You can Google it. It's a specific slice of Christian education.
Okay.
And it's one that's gaining popularity around the country. And there's a school here locally called Watermark Classical Academy, doing great work. They've been around now for 7 or 8 years. And one of the things that they have sought is to be connected to a church. They, in their model, actually, they see that as a good thing.
Right.
And they recognize that not all the people are going to go to the same church, but for them to be a part of an entity where they can serve and belong is important. We happen to have 49 and 2/3 acres here at Christ Church, and we were happy to give them a great deal on a couple acres of our land, and they are doing a fundraiser, and they're building a school right now, as you referred to. And here's for us, this is discipleship. It's discipleship through academics, and that is one component of discipleship. And we're excited about the kind of young leaders that Watermark is already raising up, and they're going to continue to raise up. And we want to connect ourselves to that. We see our kingdom growth strategy as partnership. That's always been our thing. You know, there's a whole difference. Some people do multi-site. That's great.
Right.
But for us, our calling has been more in partnership. And we have found that if we can connect ourselves to some ministries that are doing some great work in our region that we couldn't do on our own, we want to do that and help them go faster, further through our contributions, even if they're relatively meager. And in this case, it's a pretty significant contribution to share our land with them.
Right.
We're really excited about. We've already seen growth. There's a number of families and their parents who have started to come to Christ Church because of our connection. And that's even why we're doing it.
Right.
But that's part of the byproduct. That's good.
Very cool. And then your ministry here is also growing, and you're reimagining your space, which is a beautiful facility. What's that going to look like?
We're super excited about it. It starts with this. It started with this idea, and I think, again, this is changing a little bit, but there's this idea of post-Christianness that's set into cities. In Pittsburgh, at one point, when I read a report, was 27th out of 100 cities in America in terms of its post-Christianness.
Okay.
People have walked away from the church and from faith. And so the question becomes, well, how are we going to reach those people? The standard, we'll invite them to church on Sunday morning, just doesn't have the same panache that maybe it had at some point. So we thought, okay, what if we could reclaim the idea of a front porch mentality in the church? And historically, you see this, and even in the book of Acts, they had Solomon's colonnade,
right?
And things like that, where it was a meeting place for the people of God with the people of the greater community, halfway between where they worship and halfway between where those people are. It's the same as a front porch in my grandma's house when I was growing up. There's the street, there's her kitchen, and the halfway part between that was her front porch.
Right.
And she could sit there and smoke her cigarettes and talk to the neighbors. And some people get into the kitchen, but everyone could talk at the front porch.
Right.
And our idea is this: what if we re-envision this beautiful campus we have and imagine it as a front porch? And so we've got an outdoor community hub that we're building with a covered sports court and fire pits and some connectivity to our trails here we're really excited about. And then we're going to also, of course, invest in our kids and youth. And we want to improve and enlarge those spaces. And as an outreach, we're doing what a lot of churches, I think, around the country are waking up to, is serving families. We're going to build an indoor playground, a really supercharged, something you'd see at McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A.
Right.
We're going to put in here as a way of connecting with the community. So we envision that not only are people going out and they're taking the message of Jesus out to the workplace and to their neighborhoods and everywhere they go, but we want to leverage the fact that we do have 49 and 2/3 acres here, and we want to use that for God's glory. And so we're really interested in how we can do that.
Very cool. Very cool. Pleasure to be back hanging out with you. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. Thanks for being with me, brother.
Thank you.
We're Steelers.